along with hospitalizations and deaths. And according to the White House, nearly 20% of all those new cases are popping up in one state, the state of Florida. Democratic Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz joins me now. Thanks for taking some time out for us on this Sunday, Congresswoman. Your state is just barely below the national average for people being fully vaccinated. So what do you think explains such high infection rates?
What I think explains high infection rates is that we have a governor who has not taken COVID seriously from the very beginning. You know, he's essentially right now treating it like a joke. He's got campaign merchandise on his website saying, "Don't Fauci my Florida." And we've had nearly 40,000 Floridians die of COVID. We have 20%, we are contributing 20% of the COVID diagnoses in the country right now, and we're on the rise. And look, I would rather see us Fauci our Florida than have people go through death by DeSantis. And that's what we're facing right now. He actually had a law passed in Florida to prohibit local governments from being able to enact measures like mask requirements and social distancing to keep people safe. You just can't make this stuff up. So that's where the blame lies, at his feet.
And the question is, what more would you have him do? As you well know, he has defended his handling. He said the government shouldn't be meddling in this. It's people's personal choice. They should have the freedom to decide how they want to live, what they should do. What would you say to him? What more should he be doing?
He should join President Biden, join our congressional delegation, join Democratic legislators, join public health experts across the state who have gone through an all-out full-court press to educate people who have not been willing to become vaccinated. We are below the average. We really have a problem with, as our CDC director said, a pandemic of the unvaccinated now. Every single person that's died in the last month in this country of COVID has died without being vaccinated because they were not vaccinated. And that's how they got COVID. So we have to make sure that we're stopping the spread of disinformation like is spreading rampant on Facebook, some of which is propagated by Ron DeSantis himself and Fox News, which he spends a lot of time on. So, look, we all have to pull together and try to make sure we can do everything we can to get everyone vaccinated, because that is the key, as we've seen, to making sure that we bring the numbers down and make sure people don't get sick and die.
Florida is a deep red state. We're seeing this trend in the red states. There is a lower number of people being vaccinated. So in your state, I mean, these are people who are individuals seeing what's out there and choosing for themselves not to get the vaccine. How much responsibility can you really put on one individual, the governor of the state, for all of these people choosing not to get vaccinated?
We have a governor that likes to take credit for things. And so, you can't take credit for the good things and then not be accountable for the things that aren't going so well. When you passed a law through the state legislature and signed it to say that businesses can't require vaccinations, to say that local governments can't take steps to keep their own people safe, that ignores public health, who really through the whole pandemic did everything he could to really stiff arm the pandemic and taking care of people. At the end of the day, when we're now facing the largest rise in the country, then the responsibility lies with you. And all he has to do is exercise his leadership and use his bully pulpit to encourage people to get vaccinated. He's been vaccinated. It's important that we make sure that we work hard to get to those tough people who really have been either impacted by disinformation spread by him or who simply just need a little bit more of a nudge to make them comfortable. That's our job as public.
Yeah, I mean, I had a lawmaker on earlier, a Republican who is a pharmacist, and he's out there saying, look, you should take the vaccine. We're seeing Republicans in Congress who have been out there on the forefront putting out PSAs saying, take the vaccine, it is safe. I want to listen to what Dr. Fauci said yesterday on CNN.
If we had had the pushback for vaccines the way we're seeing on certain media, I don't think it would have been possible at all to not only eradicate smallpox, we probably would still have smallpox, and we probably would still have polio in this country if we had the kind of false information that's being spread now. If we had that back decades ago, I would be certain that we'd still have polio in this country.
So in light of that, should the Biden White House mandate vaccines?
What we need to do is make sure that we continue to educate people with the facts, use our public health experts, our public health network, make sure that every elected official is doing our best to reach out to our constituents and make sure we fight disinformation. And by the way, I agree with President Biden. Facebook needs to do a lot more, and our social media companies need to do a lot more to take down these disinformation websites, take down the false information that their own algorithms allow to spread. Yes, they've promoted vaccinations and gotten the truth out there, but you know what happens with their algorithms? The faster, the disinformation spreads much faster, and it's infecting people. It's ensuring that people don't get the vaccination, and those are the people that are dying right now. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, Pamela. The people that are dying now are the ones who aren't vaccinated. There's not a single person who's died of it that has been vaccinated in the last month. That tells you right there.
Month, I was going to say there have been, but there's immunocompromised people and so forth. But you said you agree with President Biden on social media. Do you agree with him that Facebook is killing people?
I agree that Facebook has a responsibility to much more aggressively change their algorithms so that disinformation about COVID does not spread faster than the truth spreads. And they need to have a much more aggressive takedown policy than they do, and they need to be held accountable for the damage that their algorithm does when it comes to disinformation. So yeah, I think there is a line that is drawn directly from their spread. They're allowing the spread of disinformation on COVID to people losing their lives.
And so then you do agree with him that in essence it is killing people.
I think what they're doing is preventing people from dying of COVID by not addressing this issue more aggressively and caring more about making sure that disinformation about COVID doesn't convince people that they shouldn't get vaccinated and that it's somehow dangerous. That's a huge problem.
Sorry, I just wanted to get to a topic that I know you want to talk about, and of course that would be Cuba. And, we're seeing Cuba, South Florida are seeing some of the biggest pro-democracy, anti-regime demonstrations